Hello, everybody. Welcome to Link Live. Happy Wednesday. My name is Marina Mayer, Editor-in-Chief of Food Logistics and Supply and Demand Chain Executive, here with my usual crew. If you want to go around and introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Brielle Jekyll. I'm the Associate Editor.
And I am McKenna Morales, and I am the Assistant Editor.
And today we have a special guest. We have Justin Goldston, Professor and Coordinator of Project and Supply Chain Management at Penn State University. He is part of our Unsung Heroes series, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but he is on with us to discuss supply chain education, what it means to be a frontliner, and what's in store for young supply chain professionals of the future. So Justin, thank you so much for joining our program today.
Thank you for having me. Just as last time, we're going to have fun.
I know we are. He entered the lion's den with us, and I say that because he has a lion behind him. So it's been
the Nittany Lion's Den. Okay.
The Nittany Lion. I know, very specific. We gotta say it just right. I get it.
It's branding. It's branding.
We gotta get some of those animals on our crew. Oh, but we have Plum. Everybody say
there
hello.
She is.
We have Plum the pillow and Plum the real dog, and they're right next to each
no.
She's moving. Maybe not. We'll see. We'll see her in a little bit.
She'll hang out.
She will. They always make their appearances, as everybody knows who watches us weekly. Before we dive into our discussion, I just wanted to go over a couple of housekeeping items. Nominations for Food Logistics Top Green Providers Award are open. Submissions close March 21st, so please get those nominations in. I'll put the link in the chat so you can go right there and learn more about it. Also, registration is open for our upcoming SCN Summit on Sustainability. Those sessions take place February 23rd and February 25th. Again, I'll put the registration link in the chat so you have that. So let's talk Unsung Heroes. Unsung Heroes was one of McKenna's ideas that she brought to us. And I love it when my team brings ideas because it shows that we're invested and we're growing and we're excited. And I love that. So I'm going to actually toss things over to you, McKenna, so that you can kind of explain what Unsung Heroes is about. And we can kind of go into our discussion with Justin.
Right. So Unsung Heroes is a feel-good series of interviews with frontline workers, professors, and more to discuss the effects of the coronavirus pandemic and how these heroes are turning challenges into opportunities. So the whole point of this entire series is to talk with people like Justin who are truly making a difference in the supply chain, because as we all know, the supply chain is one of the only industries that is able to touch every single person across the globe. And if it wasn't for people like you, we would be suffering.
Very true. We wouldn't have our food and our clothes and our medication and stuff. So, perfect.
Yes. And so, Justin, how has the pandemic impacted you, and how has your job changed for better or for worse? I know we've talked about it a little bit before, but months have passed.
Yeah, first off, thank you for having me. I would say that it's changed for the better for me, in that it has brought more awareness to the supply chain and sustainability discipline. Yeah. I would also say that back in March and April, we would say, how you have those terms that just kind of run all over you, when you said like the new normal and unprecedented and the black swan and you're on mute and things like that, but we are in a new normal. I've accepted that we are in a new normal, but I think it's for the good, because in speaking at international conferences because of the pandemic, international virtual conferences because of the pandemic, it's kind of allowed me to remove my US blinders, I would say, and look at the supply chain from a global perspective and look at sustainability from a global perspective. And I had one presentation in India, and there was a professor in India that said, and he pinged me in like the little private chats. He's like, Justin, let's talk after this presentation. I'll show you what real supply chain risks are, what real supply chain issues are. So it's allowed me to communicate and collaborate with a lot of leaders around the globe, and actually bring that into the classroom and allow students to look at it through a global lens, and also leaders as well. So it's a building block, if you will, to kind of, improve upon, my knowledge and my research from a supply chain perspective.
How have other emerging technologies played a role for you? Are there other technologies in automation that have helped, with social distancing, making that easier to keep, the supply chain moving and working?
I think that we've all seen where automation has been accelerated, especially in the supply chain space and distribution and manufacturing. But I would say more importantly, AI and innovation are like in hyperspeed right now.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I was on a call at 9:00 this morning with a data scientist that's in the healthcare space. He does a lot of research with NYU and Columbia and Pace up in New York. He actually dropped a bomb on us and said that, yeah, I did some research with Dr. Fauci in the 80s in New York. So
oh my God.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
The dog really enjoyed that.
Yeah, he likes Dr. Fauci. He loves Fauci. Everybody loves Fauci. But we were collaborating on how we can use artificial intelligence and blockchain within healthcare supply chains, and things like that. So I would say that in terms of technologies, we've seen different industries coming together that I don't think we would have seen before. And I would say that although it's not a technology, it's a platform. And I would say the biggest platform that I've seen made an impact because of the pandemic, because of social distancing, is Clubhouse. I would say that it's the greatest application, in my opinion, because it is upending the social media space. It's almost like a real-time podcast that you can participate in. And my thing is whenever you are sharing your knowledge, everyone is sharing their knowledge for free because they're collaborating. And whenever you find someone that you can connect, that you feel you can connect with, that's where you can innovate. I think you're going to see a lot of innovation coming out of Clubhouse, coming out of that platform.
That's funny. I was just reading about Clubhouse this morning.
You have to get on. I have like 2 invites, so ping me if you have an Apple device.
Yeah.
So
I was thinking about joining today. That's awesome.
Yeah. See, if you need an invite, just ping me. But so I've been speaking. So in terms of artificial intelligence, I've been speaking with an individual from Facebook. So he's an attorney. He works for Facebook. I've spoken with an individual from Google, where her job is to ensure that AI is not biased or discriminatory. I have had discussions with Craig Sellers. So he's an inventor of the stable coin. So I've had discussions with him on some thoughts that I've had in terms of implementing blockchain for good. So I have two large projects I'm doing now where I'm looking to democratize blockchain, and I'm looking to democratize artificial intelligence and to use it to address the sustainable development goals. So I've been kind of bouncing ideas off of people, that I've been hearing speak in Clubhouse and on LinkedIn and interviewing individuals, and that platform is absolutely amazing. And I would say that they're from a marketing perspective. So I have a strategic management class that's a capstone, but all of the students are marketing students. So everything we talk about from a strategic business perspective is centered around marketing, right? So whenever Clubhouse had a stress test when Elon came on, that's all we talked about that next day, because it was literally 8 hours before that class, and I said this may have been the greatest marketing feat of all time. 1, you're in beta. 2, you're only for Apple users. But if you looked at the news stations, that's what most of them were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about Clubhouse. They're talking about Elon. To me, that was absolutely brilliant. So I mean, we're seeing the future, and I think that it was just perfect timing for that platform because everybody was locked in the house.
Right.
And without that platform, there would have been a lot of people that I would never, ever would. I would not have been able to speak with anyone from Google. I wouldn't have been able to speak with anyone from, and especially attorney from Facebook. I wouldn't be able to speak to the inventor of the stable coin. Really?
Yeah.
So this platform is going to transform. It's going to transform business, in my opinion.
It's super interesting because I feel like, especially with Elon doing everything with, everything that's going on with Bitcoin, and we see a lot of that coming in, the transportation sector. That's a whole different conversation.
I love Elon right now because of that statement.
Yeah, he's doing some. He's ones to watch. I'll tell you that. So I have a question, Justin. I know you probably see it all. You've been doing this for a while. So what kind of in the field stories can you share with us? And have any one of those made significant impacts on you and kind of your career in the future of supply chain?
I would say a lot of people had time to perform their research. Whenever they're locked in their homes and things. And I've been contacted by a few people within the supply chain space that had questions in regards to blockchain. So I've been working with about 2 companies in terms of blockchain and working with them on the IBM TradeLens project to get into the IBM TradeLens marketplace. If you know about, I'm sure a number of you are aware or are familiar with IBM TradeLens and things like that. So it's, again, without the pandemic, those connections would have never happened, in my opinion. So we've been collaborating, and I've been, it's been challenging me to do additional research, in terms of use cases for certain things, especially in the maritime industry and things like that. But my deal when working with these organizations is, okay, I'm sharing your knowledge. Now you have to come guest lecture. So with one company, shout out to Christopher Wall and Zeus Logics, where he came in and he guest lectured to the students, and he shared his knowledge and talked about how what it takes to be successful within the supply chain industry. And he gave one of my students an internship like 2 days after he guest lectured. So how it impacts me, that's how it impacts me. Those students, what we talk about in the classroom is transferable. It's the exact same thing that I talk to with these founders of these organizations, and we're providing opportunities to those students right then and there. And so Christopher is one that came in, Akshay from Terminal 49 came in. We had an individual come in from Gnosis Freight and talk about their solutions. And they're saying we have opportunities. Just reach out to me. It's that simple. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I tell to these students. If you share that you are interested in this discipline and you demonstrate your knowledge to the founder of the organization, to the COO of the organization, there's your opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's an amazing thing.
Right. And Michelle just commented saying that is amazing. And I have to agree. And I think that's something that students today are really benefiting from, especially the supply chain majors, because they have professors like you who are currently in or who have worked in the field and have that knowledge already. So I just think they're really lucky to have experiences like that.
Mm-hmm. It's all about paying it forward. I think all of us. She don't like me that much, man. You just mad.
Well, just was not like any of your answers.
They have been sleeping all day. I am so sorry.
I'm surprised mine aren't going nuts now.
Oh my God, I love it. Yeah. I just want to be on Link Live. Everybody wants to be on Link Live, Justin.
Yeah, it's super important. They're both just sitting straight up, looking at the door. There's no one there. It's very eerie. I'm so sorry. I'll mute myself.
That's fine. But yeah, my thing is, it's all about paying it forward. I think we've all had mentors during this process. We all didn't do it alone, and that's what I'm here for.
Well, and you kind of touched on it because I know we talk about this internally a lot, what we do today and how we do our job today is very different than how it was pre-pandemic. And it kind of shifted overnight. And so, I know we're not alone in that, and obviously not in the trenches like you and everybody else that's in, this industry. So thank you to all of our frontliners for doing everything that you do. But, what kind of advice do you have for others, and how do you expect them to continue to rise to the occasion? I mean, we're not out of the woods yet with anything. So, kind of what do you say to those people who are needing that opportunity?
I say never stop collaborating. I say continue, never stop collaborating, never stop learning, and look out for one another. That's what it's all about. And that's my thing. And we're gonna get into this shortly, but it's all about serving. And I always say that, I do a lot of this work. I don't ask for a dime because I give. But I say the money's going to come. The money's going to come. It's not about that. And that's why I'm very transparent with my students. And I say that was the case when I started out in the industry. I was just chasing the dollar. I'll be the first one to tell you that, but I've been blessed with a lot of mentors. I've been blessed with a lot of opportunities. And, it's my time to give back. And I said this in a previous podcast where I said that whenever I'm gone, nobody's going to say, man, Justin made a boatload of money. No, nobody's not even going to care about that. They're going to say, man, he touched a lot of students. And he did his life's work, which is what I'm doing now. He did his life's work to try to make a positive impact on the world. Right. Although he had some Elon-esque thoughts, he made an impact with some of them.
I need to get inside his brain and start figuring out how that works.
Absolutely. Well, what? I think he might make that happen in about 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. I was gonna say. I mean, even our kids will be able to do it one day.
Yeah.
I do have a question, because that's like an interesting comment that you just made, Marina, about your kids. But do you think your students, Justin, are going to have like a leg up on others in the industry because they're learning about like COVID in real time?
Absolutely. I say that. Well, it's not just about COVID. It's about like sustainability. It's about diversity and inclusion. They're getting hammered with like life's experiences in like 2 years.
Right.
Think about it. So
yeah, it's very true.
About it. They've gotten hit with COVID. They've been hit with civil unrest. They've been hit with so many things that you can't teach out of a book. You just learn it in life. So I think that that will lead to their resilience, once they actually getting out into these fields. And I think that it's going to be even more impactful for like high school students. Because I know for some of my peers, I don't have high school students. They say it's a mess. And it's their worry that, these students are going to be like terrified for like online learning once they get to college and things like that. And I always try to gauge my students, because I'm trying to serve them as best as I can. And I say, okay, how am I doing? How can I make things better? And I get their feedback and we make adjustments. We pivot. We're agile. I think that Penn State's amazing in giving us that freedom to adjust, because we're all trying to figure it out, to be honest. So, and I think that and the heroes within higher education are the elementary school teachers and the high school teachers. That's for sure. I know that I would say some of us within higher education, we're somewhat used to it, especially like somewhat in a blended type of environment. But elementary school students and elementary teachers and high school teachers, they've never seen anything like this. They've never seen anything like this.
Fast.
My fiance is a high school teacher, so I'll make sure to tell him.
How's that going?
It's hard. There is a time for like a month or like 2 months, I can't remember, where just this year he had to work remotely, and now like it's always just such an adjustment. And we live in Wisconsin, so we were just pummeled with snow, and they're all on of snow days now. So if something happens for the remainder of the year, they have to do like a hybrid online learning situation. And now like the students don't even have books or notebooks. They all carry their laptop class. And I was like, that's insane.
My kindergartner has a Chromebook and a Chromebook case, and he knows how to use every single one of his Google Docs and get in and out of classes. And he's 5, and he's telling me what I'm supposed to be doing. Like,
I was just going to say, does he help you?
Yeah.
See,
but that's you bring up the resiliency. Our whole thing from the very beginning, the minute they became at-home learners and we were already working from home, it was like, this is how it is. You either get with it and figure it out, or you're going to be, trampled over. So we adapted and we figured it out, and it's been a challenge. I'm not going to lie, but I mean, the resiliency is proof from people who are learning to adapt with what's going on around you and just, making it work for them, however that may be.
Yeah. And that's how I try to make the students feel comfortable. Sorry to cut you off. Make them feel comfortable in that. I'll say that this is where the industry's going. Yes, it's tough, but whenever you get into the work environment, you're going to be working remote. I say you're going to be working remote. Or if you're not working remote, you're going to be collaborating with someone from across the country or around the world. So we're just preparing you now, right?
Right.
But that's the reality, though. That's the truth.
It's the best life lesson you can teach anybody.
Yeah.
Where do you think it's going to go in the future? Once the pandemic's over.
I think that you're going to see an increase in digital transformations. So if I translate that to the supply chain industry, I think that the software vendors are going to be busy in the coming months and coming years. I think that you're seeing a lot of work in the lab, in the SAPs, Oracles, Infors, and all those organizations in terms of introducing artificial intelligence, business process and automation, robotic process automation, and including that within their ERP application. So from a digital transformation perspective, I think you're going to see an increase in that. I think that the remote work's here to stay, to be honest. I know that I've heard a lot of people, like students I work with, organizations that I consult with, that said that they pretty much shut down our organization, told us to work from home because they're realizing the cost savings. Or if they own the building, they're leasing out that office space, and then they're like having hoteling type offices for those people who have like kids who want to go into work every day. So you're going to see that transition, and I think that you're going to see the flexibility, and you're going to see that real work-life balance. I know some people don't agree with that. They say, well, I'm working more hours. I said, yeah, you're working more hours, but you were spending 2 hours on the road each way to get to work, right? Mm-hmm. And now you can spend, 2 hours throughout the day with your kids. Mm-hmm. Some people don't like that. They say, send these kids back to school. But
there were days I was like that. I'm like, I love you, but when is this going to end?
That's what my wife's been saying. My wife's saying, can't you like travel somewhere? Like, can't you go to campus? Are they allowing you to go to campus like one day a week or something?
I love she's trying to get rid of you. I love it. Oh my God, I love it.
But yeah, I think you're going to see it, but I also think that you're going to see a lot of innovation coming, because you have these platforms like Clubhouse that increases that communication, and I think you're going to see a lot of innovation. I think you're going to see a lot of amazing companies popping up in the next couple of years.
It's crazy just since COVID started, seeing what these software companies have done to change. I mean, they hit the ground running. I feel like immediately they were like, we've got this.
I think they kind of had, that might be a strong statement. Might be a strong statement to say they had no choice, but they seen the opportunity.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. They seen the opportunity. Yeah.
Well, and a lot of it happened almost overnight. I mean, we talk about all the time how we were in Modex last year, kind of when all of this started to really go down. We were actually just talking about it when we introduced our new series coming up, our COVID-19 1 year later series. And we were talking about how all these cool robotics and automation that we saw at the show literally just ended up in deployment almost immediately because they had to. So it was just interesting to see how quickly those kinds of companies can pivot and get moving.
Yeah. I think you're going to see it. I think you're going to see a big shift in agile training, agile project management training.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Okay, McKenna, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yes.
You're struggling with trying to be on mute. That's why I didn't want to make sure.
Am I muted?
No, you're good.
No, I know you were at one time because of Plum. Does Plum have anything to add?
Man, is this to have kids? But okay, so Justin, in your opinion, what does it mean to you to be considered a frontliner?
I would say that there's a lot of people on this call. Every single person on this call right now, and every single person listening to this, once it's published, every single person's a frontliner, right? I would say that my definition of a frontliner is someone that serves, right? Now, I would say that there's a tiered approach where our tier one frontliners is, the healthcare, those in healthcare, those who serve our country, those in law enforcement, those delivery men and women, most importantly, those in the restaurant industry, most importantly. But then you also have, the tier twos within higher education, or tier 1.5, however you want to do it. I am not down on anybody. But you have, those in higher education, and, if you serve, you're a frontliner, and every single person's a frontliner. I say that, one person asked me the question, like, what do you do every morning to kind of win the day? And I say that, I just ask myself, how can I serve today? How can I serve somebody? And I'm always trying to serve individuals and things like that. People who ask questions about how to pursue a PhD, and, people who are looking for roles within organizations. And I'm hopping on the phone. I'm on the phone all times of nights, especially with the pandemic. I've been meeting with a lot. I had a call with someone in Lithuania 2 days ago. I had a call with someone in Denmark the other day. So it's around the clock mentoring, around the clock serving.
I love that. I know we're kind of pressing on our time here, but we did have a question that came in on Facebook that I think is pretty important to kind of address. They ask, once in a while, should we have something like a COVID or like a pandemic that kind of forces us all to sit back and figure out how to improve our processes? What are your thoughts on something like that?
I was go ahead and say it. This is not the last disruption that we're going to see. This is not the last one. I think that it's only the beginning. But we have to develop our contingency plans so we don't have a result of what we experienced over the last year. So I think that, and I also go back and I say that, we had 9/11, we had Katrina, and back at the beginning of this pandemic, I say, yes, we all come together. We can't have another 9/11 and another Katrina where it goes back to business as usual a few months later. That's exactly what happened here. That's exactly what happened. So how do we fix that? And that's the thing. I don't have the answer to that question right now, but that's one thing that we all have to come together and figure out. How do we come together and we stay together? Because this is not the end. There's another one coming. There's another disruption coming. How do we stay together? How do we mitigate the issues that are going to arise, and how do we stay united as a world, not just the US, the world.
COVID was really a game changer in terms of disruptions because it just affected everything so fast in the entire world.
Yeah.
Instead of where like 9/11 and Katrina was localized, and then it was business as usual. This changed so much, so fast, so wide-reaching that there's no way we can go back to business as usual, because, like you said, so much innovation had to happen so fast, and it opened, the industry's eyes. It's going to be different from now on.
Yeah, and I'll also say that because we weren't sustainable as a from a global perspective,
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the root cause to all this. But that's a different conversation.
Right.
It's like an hour conversation, to be honest.
That's another Link Live.
Yeah, that's a long conversation.
Yeah.
But again, I just think that I would just ask everybody, look at those United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and pick out your top two and kind of justify to yourself what your top two are, and then do the same exact exercise to your peers. Because that's one thing that I found, where one, everyone has their own definition of sustainability, and two, everyone has top two SDGs, but that's what we need to make a positive impact on the world.
I agree. Totally. Jason. We have a Jason that works with us. We have a John that works with us. Now my husband's name is Jordan. You're Justin. I'm like all over the place calling everybody different names. I apologize. Justin, thank you so much for being on our program today. And thank you for, serving our students of, supply chain students of the future, and showing them the ropes and being that mentor that everybody kind of needs right now. So thank you for everything that you do. And thank you to everybody who is watching today. Thank you to all the frontliners who do everything that they do to keep things moving, regardless of where you are in the supply chain. We do appreciate you. So I did in the chat post some other video interviews that we've had with some other unsung heroes. So make sure you stay tuned to foodlogistics.com, sdcexec.com, to keep an eye out for some future Unsung Heroes interviews, as well as read blog posts, check out our videos, download our Link podcast channel, read some expert columns, and more. So thank you, everybody, for being a part of our program, and hope to see you next week at 11 a.m. Central, where we'll be talking about what is trending in supply chain and logistics. Thank you, Justin, for your time today.
All right. Thank you. For all my students, we are.